So, if you've turned on the radio dial lately, you may have heard our next guest, host of House of Pride Radio and Party Foul Radio. Welcome, Pearl Teese.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
So, you were telling me before we started that you don't like your radio voice. Why is that?
No. So, the hostess of my, the new show that I'm doing, Party Foul Radio, Pollo Del Mar, she calls me, okay, so my drag name is Pearl Teese, and she has all these ridiculous nicknames for me, one being Pearliqua, which is awful, and then because my voice on the radio kind of like blends together sometimes, it kind of sounds like I have permanent drunk voice. She calls me Slurliqua.
Slurliqua.
It's so annoying, but yeah, I don't like it, but I'm working on it.
It's fine. So I was going to say, so you weren't born with the name Pearl Teese.
No.
So when did you discover your name and your persona?
Well, that is a whole. Well, my first drag name wasn't Pearl Teese, and I don't think a lot of drag entertainers don't end up with the original drag name that they had. My first drag name was like Daphne Antoinette, or something like that. Once I decided to become serious with drag, my drag coach at the time told me, that's too long of a name to fit on a poster or anything. So we went through a couple things, and Pearl Teese kind of represented both my black side and my Asian side. Are you familiar with what a Pearl Tee is?
Oh, yes, the things you get on the streets of Manila, those wonderful...
I don't know if you, maybe. Have you ever been to like Quickly's or anything?
Oh,
like
yeah,
that?
Quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a Quickly thing.
Yeah.
I love
so,
those
like,
things.
It's black tea, which represents my black side, and the tapioca represents the Filipino side.
Yeah, Michael, who's our producer, who's originally from Manila, we were joking because Michael always says, oh, yes, he said, I'm Filipino, I'm a flip.
Oh.
And he says, we have a guest who's half Filipino, half black. So
Yes.
we decided we would have to ask you, does that make you a flack or a blip?
Well, I consider myself Blasian.
Blasian.
I'm San Francisco's Blasian beauty. Yeah.
That's
I love
cool.
it. Thank
Well,
you.
see, Blasian, it's as opposed to blazing, so I get it.
It's a little
So,
put on it.
a local San Franciscan, born and raised.
Born and raised.
When did you first realize you wanted to be on the stage?
Probably when I was like in 5th grade. I was doing like theater and stuff. And I would always do whatever it took to get on stage. Like I was in theater, I was in orchestra, I was in dance, and now I'm a drag queen. Now I'm doing all of it in women's clothing.
So did you think when you were in 5th grade, were you dressing up in your mom's clothes?
I probably dressed up in my mom's clothes once when I was like in 3rd grade, and I got caught by my grandmother. Actually, it was so embarrassing. But at that time, no, I didn't think that was going to happen.
Was your grandmother cool with it, or did she?
My grandmother flipped out. She's like this older Filipino woman, and she was like, what is going on? What's going on? She called my mom right away. It was awful. But it was really embarrassing, though, because my middle brother, I have 2 younger brothers. My middle brother was playing around in clothes with me, and we heard the door, and my little brother jets to the bathroom. We both run towards the bathroom. He locks me out the bathroom.
So he escaped.
Yeah, he escaped, and I was stuck in a blouse and a skirt in my mom's heels. It was awful. But
you took to it.
I did, and now I'm getting paid for it.
So, I had dinner the other night with Donna Sachet.
I love Donna.
Donna is, of course, as Mark Leno referred to her, the first lady of
San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had never heard her tell the story about how she got her name. And she said that at this event, it was, I think, a retreat of sorts, she stood up for the first time to do this performance, and not as glamorous as she is now, but she called herself Donna Winter, because she said, Donna's summer music was really big.
Yeah.
And as she walked off stage, someone says, look at that sachet. And she realized, that's my name.
I love it. Yeah.
So did you come up with Pearl Teese, or did someone give it to you?
It was kind of like a combination thing. Like, we did it together. Originally, it was going to be something like Portia Fish, and I was like, no. And then I like pearls, and then it was going to be Pearl Tea at first. And we were like, let's add a little bit of sex in there. We'll make it Pearl Teese.
So how important is that little bit of sex to being a drag performer?
Well,
because when I was, I'm a good deal older. When I came out, you had drag queens, and it was all about being fabulously feminine, and even in a big way.
Yeah.
But then in the '80s, part of it was the entertainers we had, the sisters and whatnot, who were about raising awareness of AIDS.
Yeah, Sister Roma
and it was
and all
very
them.
political, and it wasn't necessarily about being pretty or even feminine. It was about a message. So the concept of drag has kind
Has
of
changed so much. There's so many. It depends on the person. It's a case-by-case basis. It's, you know, it's a form of self-expression. So if your idea of drag is to be this pretty feminine creature, that's what you're going to be, and your name will probably represent that, hopefully. But we definitely still do have some there's a lot of new girls now that still hold on to that, like, I shouldn't say hold on to, but still are very like old school with their drag and have a message to every performance, which is really cool. I love that.
So you think that's still part of it?
Yeah, it's
So we
most
haven't
definitely.
left. There is a, what's the word I'm looking for? A heritage.
Yeah, no, you definitely have to remember where you came from, and I think that's always going to be a thing with drag.
How strong is the drag community here now? You hear about the Imperial Court, which is very old school.
Yeah, the Imperial Court,
and
the
raises a
Ducal
lot of
Court.
money. Great stuff. How active is the quote-unquote contemporary drag scene? And would you consider yourself a real part of that?
I think so. I mean, I've been in the community about 5 years, and you know, I've seen girls who have came in after me. Like, some of them have their own shows now, and you know, I remember when I first started, I wouldn't even dream of having 2 radio shows under my drag persona. Because of drag, I have a radio show. I originally went to school. I was telling you earlier, I went to school for broadcasting to be in radio and television, and I ended up maxing out all my credit cards before I could get the degree. So thankfully, my drag persona got picked up, and I ran into a DJ, the host of my radio show, House of Pride, and was like, hey, do you want to do this radio show with me? And that's how I got in with that. And now I have this platform where I get to interview all these other great performers and entertainers.
Yeah, let's
and
talk
stuff.
about that. So who do you interview on House of Pride, and how is that different from Party Foul?
So House of Pride Radio, we get like a lot of local luminaries, and we do get a few guests. We've gotten guests from Cleve Jones to Donna Sachet to BB Sweetbriar. We've had guests like Martha Walsh, Sarah Dash, where on Party Foul Radio, it's a little bit more broad. Like, we have a lot of girls from RuPaul's Drag Race. We have had recently the Miracle Mike Bennett from WWE Wrestling. I heard you guys in the previous interview. And with Party Foul Radio, it's a little bit more outside of just San Francisco. House of Pride is a little more local based, but we do touch on some things that are a little bit out of the city, but still kind of local.
In our last couple of minutes, talk to me about how you feel the drag community is celebrated and embraced or not by the larger gay community at large. I mean, for a while there were a lot of people who felt there was still some quote-unquote drag phobia or transphobia within the mainstream gay community. Do you think that exists?
Yeah, there's.
I don't have a long enough show. Is that what you're telling me?
There's not a long enough show for that. There's so much like femphobia, I'll just say. I mean, I have a friend who's just...
So you mean by that also...
Just being a feminine gay man is hard enough, you know, and I'm sure, you know, just saying that everyone kind of gets that. But I have a friend who just started drag, and he's been in drag maybe once or twice, and before this, I was like, you know, guys are going to kind of look at you differently now, and they're not going to, you know, some of them aren't going to want to even, date you after this. And he was like, oh, I'm over it now, and I was like, that's a good way to look at it. But, I mean, you can ask some queens will say that, as far as dating and being a drag queen, there are 3 kinds of guys that want to date you. One, guys who will want to date you outside the dress but don't want to know anything about the dress. Then there's the guys who only want to see you in the dress and don't want to know you outside the dress. And then there's the guys that want to get in the dress themselves. So,
have you dated all 3?
Yes, I have, actually. I have. And then I've also dated, you know, people who just
Yeah.
Like me for me,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
current partner.
We've just got about 15 seconds left. Tell me when and where we can hear you on your 2 radio shows.
So, House of Pride Radio airs live every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. You can catch that at mutinyradio.fm.
And the next one?
Party Foul Radio is based in the UK, but you can
Listen to it online.
You can listen to it online.
Thanks so much. We've been talking to Pearl Teese. Check out her radio show, just like we thank you for checking out our TV show every week on Comcast 104. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching tonight.